So I'm really pleased to have Chris on. Chris is another member of the Voices of Lived Experience for the British Society of Lifestyle Medicine. And we've kind of been all working together online for such a long time. And now we got together in Brighton, and it was just so lovely to actually feel the energy of everyone and really get to chat about our own stories. And this is why I wanted to invite a few of the members on so we could talk really honestly about, what we've done to get well and how it's worked for us. And obviously, for a lot of us, we help others now too, but what changes we've made specifically. So, Chris, thank you for joining me. Do you want
Well,
to
wait a minute.
do you want to tell everyone a little bit about, how you found lifestyle medicine, but also what had happened to you, where you were when you found it, and what changes you've made, that kind of thing. Tell me your story.
Okay. Well, as you can see, I'm getting on in years now.
Not at all.
Um, I'm actually officially retired now. I've reached that age. Wow. Um, I suppose my story really is one that I would think many people can relate to. And I absolutely signed into the only way that your stature is assessed, if you like, in society is the amount of money that you're making in life,
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I really doled into that in bucket loads. And I kind of had this, I did have a knack for turning my hand to things to make money, and I got involved in cash businesses and really felt like I was being successful in
Mm-hmm.
life. I was in the gaming industry and the licensed trade as well, and had pubs and clubs.
It's a big deal. Yeah. Busy bee.
Yeah, it was looking back, it was very stressful.
Mm.
I think it was at the time. Um, I kind of just felt that I was Superman, really, Emma, and illness was something that happened to other people, you
Mm.
know.
Mm.
Um, and I suppose that the at my height, um, I started to experience these weird and wonderful symptoms happening to me. Um, I'd lose feeling in my hand. Um, I'd become quite confused at other times, bladder urgency, desperate to go for a wee, um, without any warning and stuff like that. And I'd go to see my GP, and he used to just say to me, "Look, these are all symptoms of stress." Um, and I thought, oh, like I said, I didn't feel that stressed.
No.
I thought it was normal working 16 hours a day,
Me too.
drinking far too much alcohol.
Mm.
But it got to 2002, um, and it was the World Cup in Asia, and I was doing breakfast and a pint at six
Remember
o'clock
it
or 7
well. I
in the
remember
morning.
it well. Yeah.
Burns my guts out. But yeah, and I became very ill, and I collapsed, and I got carted off to what was the local hospital, and it kind of set me on this road of discovery to actually find out what was the matter with me.
Mm.
Um, the hospital, I got a bit told off by the hospital because my blood sugars was all over the shop, and they sort of identified that I hadn't had any proper food for quite some time, which was true. They kind of made reference to my blood alcohol levels as well. Um, but they also suggested that I go and see my GP And I kind of, I'm going to get the same kind of answer, aren't I? Really, but
Mm.
I'd moved and I'd registered at a different GP surgery, and I went there and met this amazing GP. And I mean, she was right old school, tweed
Lovely.
skirt, yeah, right, absolute. She spent time with me.
Mm.
And she did say, she said, look, Leon, I've identified that you've got a problem. Um, have you got private health insurance? And I said, no. She said, well, can you afford to pay? And I said, yes. And she said, I want you to go and see this neurologist friend of mine, which I did. And it set me on this, as I said, this journey of discovery to find out that I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Um,
How old were you at this point, Chris?
I think I was 42.
Yeah, so really, young.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's
young.
the one. Yeah, 42 I was. And he was a lovely neurologist. Don't get me wrong, he was fantastic. He said to me, look, he said, don't visit Dr. Google.
Mm.
Um, um, be aware that we've got some really good disease modifying drugs that are going to slow this condition down for you. Um, and they started me on a DMD called Rebif, it was, which is an interferon beta 1A. I was injecting myself 3 times a week. But of course, I also visited Dr. Google, didn't I?
Of course.
It was Google was, fairly in its infancy back then. But oh my God, I found all of the horrific stories that are connected with multiple sclerosis.
Yeah.
Uh, and to be quite honest with you, I I just dialed into every single one of those negative traits, if you like, that are associated with this condition. Um,
It's a
you know,
huge diagnosis at that age. It's a huge diagnosis for
yeah,
someone that's been driven and working and you see your life kind of, it's great, I'm going to retire and all that, and then all of that is kind of taken. Yeah.
yeah, you're absolutely right there. And I still get the, when someone new finds out that I have got multiple sclerosis, you get the, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. That they get a bit shocked at my response to that now,
Yeah.
because I go, no, there's no, I've never felt better. I see this now as a massive opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't back then. And this happens to many people with these kinds of conditions. My marriage fell into real difficulty. Um, I started to become extremely anxious,
Mm.
which descended into depression really.
Of
Um,
course.
and also the condition was although I was taking these drugs, it was getting harder and harder and harder, and I seemed to be going downhill quicker and quicker and quicker. Um, and in 2007, with divorce on the horizon, um, I woke up one day and thought it was a really good day to end my life.
Yeah.
Um, and I had a really good go at it.
Yeah. You weren't a trier.
Pardon?
You weren't a trier. It was going to happen. Yeah, a
Oh,
determination within.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
I went for it. Um, and the story's out there. If anyone really wants to learn about this with me, if you choose, you
We'll
can.
share. We'll share all your links and stuff as well, Chris. So yeah.
Um, but the thing that kind of saved me that day was a thought.
Mm.
And that thought was, what effect is my action going to have on the lorry driver?
Mm.
How's it going to affect him and his family and his life? And it, it caused me to hesitate. And I bounced off the side of the vehicle. It was that close.
Yeah, yeah. Midway, and they often say this, don't they, that it's kind of that mid point where you suddenly decide actually this isn't such a great idea after all.
Well, it was just the thought, really. Um,
Mm,
it's a massive wake up for me as well.
yeah.
I think the universe, wanted me to experience that because before, and I'll put my hands up, and I was a pretty unemotional, unfeeling kind of
Mm.
person. It was that I'll suck it up, wake up, get up, and get on with it kind of.
But a lot of us were very much brought up that way as well to, I know I was definitely that you've got to
Yeah,
work hard. You're going to get nowhere without, getting up and sorting yourself out. And there's, all right, come on, dust yourself off, move on, don't cry, that kind of thing. That's just the way a lot of us have been brought up.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that day kind of turned me into a bit of an emotional human being, really. I talk about it as the day I took off my suit of armor. you
Yeah.
know um and I will be honest, it was very windy with the very cold icy wind
Mhm.
whipping around me bits, and I can become quite emotional, really.
Yeah.
But I wanted to know why I cared about the driver.
Mm.
Never cared about me. I thought my four children would be better off without me, Emma.
Yeah.
I really did. Um, and it just set me on this journey of discovery, really. I
Mm.
became fascinated with how the mind works. Um, and I suppose that's why I do what I do now.
Yeah, exactly. So what kind of steps did you obviously like after that? It's a big deal, you kind of got to bring yourself all of those bits back together and say, right, okay, this is where I am. This is how serious it's got. Um, what steps did you take after that? Because that's a big deal.
Well, I mean, I got sectioned,
Hmm.
as you would imagine, and then I got released into care in the community.
Hmm.
Um, I do you know what? I can't actually remember the antidepressant I was put on. I think it was citralopram or something like that. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Can't remember. But I knew it was the approach that I wanted. I just did not want that approach. And I started to, firstly, look for positive stories connected to the condition that had taken up residence in my body.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, I refined that Google search,
Yeah.
and you know what, I found that there were people out there that were actually living quite proactively with this condition. And yet I was seemed to be getting worse, and I still was getting worse. But my focus had started to change. It was a very slow process, um, but my focus had started to change, and my thinking had started to change. And in 2008, and I think this was a really pivotal moment for me,
Mm.
right? Because in 2008, my neurologist, which was a new one, it wasn't the original, he was an NHS neurologist.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
He took a look at me, and he ordered an enhanced MRI scan, to see, what was going on. And when we got the results of that, he found that there were many new active lesions in my brain.
Okay.
He told me that I was now secondary progressive in the condition, and disease modifying drugs would be withdrawn because back then they only had drugs for relapsing remitting.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's
Um,
come on leaps and bounds, a lot of the MS medication in the last, even in the last 5 years, I think, really. But
it has, it has. Although I'm going to put my hands up and be really, really honest with you, I just don't dial into that.
no, and that's absolutely, it's absolutely fine because I think your story will show that actually you don't always have to go that route for anything. Um, but I think like with anything, medicine and our knowledge as wellness professionals as well is trying to keep up with the pace of things because it's so quick. Yeah.
I used to dial into looking regularly at the, the latest. Is there a cure? Is there this? Is there that?
Exactly. Fix me, fix
I
me. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't anymore. I don't know what's new out there.
Mm.
But being taken off of drugs, I thought, and the neurologist, he said to me, he said, look, he said, I can still prescribe you baclofen, gabapentin, pregabalin, which are the drugs that they're epilepsy drugs, I think, primarily, but
Still
they
big
also,
drugs. Big drugs.
pardon?
They're big drugs. So, they're
They are.
yeah.
They're the only drugs that they can use for neuropathic pain, which is something I was affected by a lot.
Mm.
I'd had several bouts of optic neuritis,
Yeah, it's really
um,
awful.
which I'll be honest, it's something that I would never, I wouldn't wish it on
No,
anybody.
yeah.
It is horrendous. Um, but they didn't really agree with me. They made me go a bit like a bloody zombie, and I thought I'm taking a drug there that enhances all of the bloody symptoms that I'm affecting, muscle weakness and God knows what else, and I can't really function.
It's not
I
supposed to make
thought
you worse, is it? It's supposed to help you. No.
I just wanted to have a clear head really, and I thought, well, if pain is the sort of payoff that I've got to accept for that, I've got to find a way to manage the pain.
Yeah,
That's what I've
yeah.
got to do, which I did. And I started studying meditation and and found that I was able to start to turn that volume down because I was no longer focusing on it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Just it's not kind of I'm trying not to think about something. I think someone described it the other day to me. I just did some eye movement sessions at a charity the other day, and a big bout of PTSD, and he said, it's that yellow taxi thing. I'm trying not to think about the yellow taxi, and by not thinking about it, all I can think about is the yellow taxi. It's that thing, and you can't really get it without experiencing it. But it's like I'm not trying not. I'm just thinking about something else until that noise slows down. I'm just changing the brain. Actually, really is what
yeah,
they know now. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, the analogy that I used was that I used to imagine a radio, a transistor radio, blaring out like music,
crap. Yeah.
and that was the pain.
Mm.
And I used to just concentrate on turning the volume down on that radio to reduce it, and I found that it
Yeah.
worked. I now understand that we get more of what we focus on, we get more of,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter what symbols you put into these things, as long as they work for you and you kind of understand it, they're going to work. They're going to
Yeah,
work.
I used to say that at my lowest. You know, whatever it is, you could tell me to spray myself purple and run around the garden with something, waving a. If it works, I'll do it because that's how I felt at the time. Like I need something to, like you say, and dial it down is the right thing. Mine wasn't so much pain, but the level of flares and the issues that you got with that, the consistent brain fog and tiredness. It's just exhausting being in that state that if you could find any way to dial that down, then yeah, that would have been great. Yeah.
So that news of secondary progressive and the withdrawal of the DMDs,
Mm.
all of a sudden, I was kind of on my own, really,
Yeah.
and he said he would assess me every year. He said, let's hope we find a cure. Um, and he also told me that he said, look, the way this illness is progressing for you, you need to prepare yourself for a wheelchair by 2012, because in my opinion, that is exactly where you're going to be.
Wow.
And to all intents and purposes, he was right. Um, I wasn't wheelchair bound, if you like, if you want to use that terminology, but most of my time spent outdoors,
Yeah.
I would use,
So you're like
because,
reliant on it to an extent of, yeah. And I
well,
suppose, they're right in a way because they're going against what they see every day on a normal progression of a disease, but not the person. That's the
yeah,
thing, isn't
you
it?
know, but it was also safer for me,
Yeah.
because I know I have fallen many times and cut my head, broken fingers, and all of this. But I was still exploring meditation and the power of the mind, and mimicking these success stories that I was finding out there,
Yeah.
you know. And I will say this, that without a shadow of a doubt, 2010, when I met the love of my life, if you like, and I, it's not essential, it's not an essential element, but I met Joy, and she she presented a kind of a different opportunity for me of what I actually thought about myself as well, and I became more and more focused really on what I could do and what I can't do, and I started to retrain. I did a In the beginning, I did a year-long counselling course,
Yeah.
which I discovered really wasn't for me.
Mm.
Mm. I trained in hypnotherapy, I trained in NLP and other modems of mindfulness, and these things work for me.
Mm.
But all the time, I'm still working on myself. I'm working on diet. I'm working on movement. You know, functional movement. I'm using meditation, and I had this moment in time where I call it my wiggle my toes moment, because I was unable to wiggle my toes in my left foot. And one day on a meditation, I was able to start to wiggle my toes. And
Nice.
it was colossal for me, because I then started to concentrate on being able to tap my foot, which I couldn't do either. I had severe drop
Tiny
foot.
things. Yeah, they're amazing though when they start to happen. They're like glimmers, aren't they? Of like, hallelujah.
Yeah, and I just thought, hang on a minute, if I can do that, what else can I do?
Mm.
You know? And I
Nice.
just carried on working away on me. And I was going to see my neurologist on a yearly basis, in my wheelchair.
Mm.
Because weirdly, I don't know what it's like wherever any of your listeners or viewers are, but the hospital where I am, they always position the surgeries or the clinics for
Yeah.
the people with broken limbs or walking difficulties in the furthest one away from
Yeah. Yeah.
the
I
car
know.
park. Yeah.
Where I worked in the hospitals is the cardiac unit was the farthest away, like virtually, yeah, and
Yeah.
upstairs. So it's like it's strange, isn't it? Yeah, I know. It's interesting how they
There
design those
must be a
things.
logical madness in that.
Yeah.
Um, but and I'm saying that this has taken a long while, and I'm still a work in progress. But in 2017, I walked into my neurologist's appointment,
Nice.
And he's looked at me and he's gone, what drugs have I put you on? What drugs is it? Right? Well, I looked at him, I went, well, I'm not on any drugs. He said, there was nothing you could do for me. And he's looked down at his paper. I think he thought I was lying or something. I don't know. He
Miracle,
looked,
yeah.
looked me up and down and he went, what are you doing? You look like you're getting better. I went, well, I've changed my diet. I've changed my mindset. I've started to exercise, actually all the things he told me not to do,
Yeah,
believe it or not.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and and he kind of dismissed it, really,
Shame, isn't it?
which is, well, yeah, I mean, I understand why, as an NLP practitioner, we all take in information from outside and we filter it, and we delete, distort, or generalize everything that comes in. And of course, he's decided he's going to delete that story I've given him because it goes against his beliefs,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
it's his job, it's his livelihood as much as anything as well. That has a massive impact on someone's opinion of yeah, I've had similar kind of incidences where I'm like, I'm taking this for this, and it's been like roll your eyes moment. I go, okay, that's what you think. This is what I think.
So, it's you're almost up to current level really now for me because I'm just continuing to work on self really. I do have bad times.
Of course.
There are certain symptoms that I've not really had a great deal of success with, mainly bladder,
Hmm.
you know, and and I find it difficult to empty my bladder passing water normally.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
use an intermittent catheter,
Hmm.
which leaves you a little bit open to infection from time to time. If I get an infection, I'm no good.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
uh,
It's managing risk, really, isn't it? It's managing risk.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is, and I think actually what you just said there is fantastic. It is about managing risk.
Mm.
I will never ever say that I'm cured because I'm not.
Mm.
I am living proactively with this condition.
Yeah.
I'm 66 years of age as well, and I'm determined to age with attitude as well.
Lucky star.
Um, and it's just I've just developed this approach to life that works for me.
Yeah.
You
And I
know,
think, what you described there was a man that was kind of, very driven by work and this is what I do, this is how I achieve success, but actually not really connected to those deeper levels, those simpler levels of happiness at 42, and this shocking diagnosis, which would really finish people's lives off. I've seen it happen to, a 66-year-old guy that's happy, met the love of his life, and thriving, even though living with a chronic illness, a progressive chronic illness. And a lot of, I used to work in chronic illness when I was working in hospital for a little while, and I used to see it a lot on the wards. But, a lot of people do live well with their issues.
Hmm.
They live like functionally and really well with those issues, and I think this is what I posted the other day because Jen brought something up about accept the diagnosis but not the prognosis, and it really, I was like, oh, that was me. It's me. I'd never really seen it written out like that before. And I think that's the kind of inspiration that a lot of us give on the Voices of Lived Experiences, is that yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, we don't, I still check in with my health. I still get my thyroid checked and stuff because that's just a good thing to do. But it doesn't mean that I have to let it get me down. If it came back, at least I'm on it. I know what to do with it now. I know the steps that I need to take, and I know where my journey's got a bit off. Stress is my big thing. So it's hard for someone that, like you say, that has lived a stressful life. It's hard to recognize when you are stressed sometimes because I'm a natural doer. So it's like sometimes I'm thinking, I'm tired. I really need to take a step back. But it's so nice to see that, to feel kind of like a 42-year-old feeling a bit dead inside, really. If you're drinking a lot and working all the time, then you reach 66 and feel like finally I'm alive.
Yes, yeah, and do you know what? I love that, the diagnosis and the prognosis. I love that. In fact, I'm going to put my hands up there. I've kind of nicked it a bit. I'm
I nicked it from
plagiarising.
Jen. Don't worry, it was Jen's thing. She'll kill us both.
Um, we're all on the same team, aren't we?
Yeah,
So it's
that's
okay.
it. Yeah, yeah. Spreading the same
Um,
message, so it's all good.
yeah, I think so. I don't know how you feel about this, but in the arena that I'm in, if you like, down in Essex,
Mm,
I kind of try and help people understand that, a chronic health diagnosis could be the exact opportunity that you need for
yeah.
change. It's it's not a sentence. It's not set in stone that this, and this is going to happen, you know.
Mm,
And it you've got this window where you've got this fantastic opportunity for change.
mm, yeah.
You've just got to recognize that, you know.
Yeah, and be brave enough to, yeah, I mean, I was young. Like I always say this to Jen, she's always like, you were a bit of a determined, bugger, because I was 17 when I was diagnosed. But I think it was like, I don't think I really started to listen until my 20s, when I realized that a lot of the medication that I was receiving, the topical medication, was causing a lot of issues. Like I got a cataract at 24, and then they found other stuff while they were investigating. And I think it was probably my mid 20s where I was like, I can't let this happen. Otherwise, I'm just going to be like on bed rest when I'm kind of 30. I just didn't want to live like it was too much I wanted to do. So yeah,
Mm.
maybe that conflicting energy of this is something that I have to understand rather than get over. It was a big shift for me.
I think that shows though that at 20 you had a really high level of maturity there to recognize that, because I think, do you know, I think there's a lot of people that are far older than
Mm.
20
Oh
that
yeah,
think
yeah.
that think that they cannot function
Mm.
without that prescription.
Yeah,
And look, I'm not anti-pharmaceutical. I'm not
absolutely.
anti
Me either. No.
any way, shape, or form, right? I just think that they're used far too much and too soon.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
it's the last port of call, not the first.
Yeah, if we can turn things around a little bit with those healthy lifestyle changes and
Mm.
understand why we're making the other choices, which for me would have been like smoking, drinking, working, drinking coffee, never eating, that kind of, thank God they never assessed me because I was a mess.
He
But
was a wild child.
yeah, I didn't really, if I didn't have to eat, I would just, generally like work and drink and smoke. That would be that would be my main. I was a hairdresser as well, so it was like full throttle. But it's kind of understanding why you made those lifestyle choices in the first place. Of course, I was young, but I did all of those things to excess. I worked excessively, I drank excessively, I smoked excessively. And like I was just talking to Hollyanna recently, and it was about, really those things. Now I see them as like self-abuse. How I was using them was self-abuse. It was to kill everything, to numb everything, to ensure that no real part of me could exist, that I could just be this, kind of girl. And it was encouraged at that time. You're talking about the 90s or whatever, with this girl power type stuff. It was, the ladette, the ladette. It wasn't easy. But I think we do have to understand why those awful kind of lifestyle choices that we make, what damage they're they're doing to us, but why we choose them in the first place. And a lot of it is to just manage and cope with what's going on in that internal world. And I spoke to Dan recently about the chronic pain and, how he learned to understand it a little bit more. And I think once we become aware and understand it, that's part of dialing that noise down, of changing. Because unless we understand it, we kind of just we fight against it, don't we? So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what age did you say now? Just remind
I,
everyone. 66 and married to the wonderful Joy.
I certainly am. Yes.
And
Yes.
how
Yeah.
has life changed?
Oh, how was life? Well, it's changed massively for me, really.
Mm,
We will celebrate our 10th wedding anniversary in January.
lovely.
Um, how was life changed? Do you know what? I think life has changed for me in the very way that I've always wanted it to.
Mm,
I mean, if I may, I take you back to the beginning of my life, if you like. And I was born in 1959, and I have a brother who is 10 years older than me.
mhm,
Uh, I mean, I'm considerably more handsome, of course, but
obviously.
yeah, he's 10 years older than me. And my mum, she wanted another child, but had many miscarriages after my brother.
Mm,
And when she fell pregnant with me, medical science then believed that she should terminate the birth
mm,
because, in their opinion, only one of us would survive.
yeah.
I kind of think it set up a bit of a dodgy relationship with my dad.
Mm.
Although, you can probably tell that I'm a Londoner and he was a Northerner. He was
Okay.
born in Darlington, County Durham.
Yeah.
Um, but my mother was adamant that she would not terminate the birth. And we both survived. I mean, I was premature, but we
Mm,
did both survive. And I
amazing.
think for anybody that is listening to this, we've heard two clear examples of one. Look, we've got many health professionals that are friends and colleagues
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff, but health professionals are not always right. It's an opinion that they give. And I think the universe kind of brought me into this world to do the kind of work that I'm doing, you're doing, and the rest of the team are doing,
Yeah.
to just give this message out, that I truly believe that we as human beings have an innate ability to heal from within.
Yeah.
You
We do.
know, it all starts with even with pharmaceutical drugs. The more you believe they're going to help you, the better they will work.
Yeah, definitely.
It's that placebo sugar-coated pill. If you believe it's going to work, it
It
probably
will.
will,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I just think that for me, um, I'm happy in the place that I'm in now. I'm very happy with the amount of connections and colleagues that I have now around me,
Mm.
because I did feel a short time ago, really, I suppose. I mean, I have been associated with the British Society of Lifestyle Medicine for a number of years,
Yeah.
I talk in Edinburgh in 2021, I think it was.
Mm.
I did feel like I was this person all on me bloody own, really.
And you
You
can
know,
feel like that. Yeah.
yeah,
Listen to me. Yeah, listen to me.
but all of a sudden, there's this team of people
It's
I
lovely.
can relate to and I can talk to, and they understand.
Yeah. There's a sense of destiny about it, definitely, for me, when I really I'm trying to write a little bit about my story to help others in a book when I actually pull my finger out. And it really makes you look back and see things from a different lens, and obviously helps you to process a lot of stuff as well. But yeah, when you look back, kind of things make sense. You know, the dots all join up.
Yeah, oh God, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I
But
mean,
Chris, so you're helping people now. So you actually run your own business and you support other people on all sorts of different paths. Is that right?
yes, absolutely. I mean, look, I work on um my own particular skill set really,
Mm.
which is your mindset really.
Yeah.
In it's and I use hypnotherapy, NLP and other techniques to reframe
Hmm.
that negative language that we all have.
Oh,
You
we
know,
do.
when you think about the things that you say to yourself
Mm.
and about, you probably wouldn't say it to someone else because you'd think it was being horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's horrifying sometimes, isn't it? That internal voice.
So that's the sort of stuff that I work on with people. You know, obviously, yeah, I do the other stuff, phobias,
Mm.
addictions, and but the bit that I'm really passionate about is that changing the landscape for chronic health conditions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
we're gonna be facing this onslaught of conditions for a number of years to come, and it's getting worse, you know,
Quickly.
and
Yeah. It's getting worse quickly. Yeah. I've seen a massive rise.
something about it, my dear.
Yeah. I know. It's when I used to say I had autoimmune disease to other people, it was kind of like, I don't know what you're talking about now. Everyone's like, oh, I've got that. This is, and it kind of like, it's not necessarily a nice thing to hear. But yeah, I hear it in conversations everywhere I go, this diagnosis, that diagnosis, and no answers, and da da da. And I'm like, sometimes you just have to bite your tongue a little bit and wait for it to evolve for people. So, but yeah, we'll pop all your links anyway in the chat at the bottom. But thanks, Chris. It's been really nice to chat to you. So thanks for taking the time to come on.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Pleasure.